How's it going, brother?
Oh, what happened there.
It's a classic Canucks first period.
That after the Florida game, that is not the period you expect the boys to have. You knew Boston was going to come out flying after the last two losses they had. How we are not ready for these games. I don't care if some of the team is sick. It's not an excuse to come out that flat. Holy smokes.
Brutal. They literally have more icings against them than they have shots.
Yeah. Just sloppy hockey. Puck is bouncing all over the place. The breakout is non-existent. The cross seam pass continues to be a problem on Boston's first goal. Just another slow start at home. We can't seem to figure that out. PD is not driving the play whatsoever. He's kind of non-factor out there right now. And that makes the rest of his line struggle. Miller's still struggling coming back. There's nothing really positive other than Demko made some big saves to keep it 2-0 instead of worse.
Do you think maybe there's more guys on this team that are feeling a little sick right now? Is that maybe part of the problem? Because they have Forbert and Blanken at
Potentially,
home, so maybe there are other
yeah.
sickness, but
I mean, potentially, yes, but if that's the case, other guys got to step up. The guys that are feeling better know they need to play better. Also, there are other guys that we could have put in the lineup if we needed to. So, you know, it's just becoming frustrating to get these slow starts against teams that we should be handling no problem.
yeah, I mean, Boston, end of another long road trip similar to Florida, coming off getting hammered by Seattle of all teams 5-1 and getting hammered by Winnipeg makes sense but I mean 8-1 is a drubbing, right? So I mean that could be part of the difference in juice too, right? You got a team who just came off beating the Stanley Cup champions, feeling really good about themselves. And you got a team who came off two really tough losses. So Boston came out and they looked like they won it more than the Canucks.
Oh, do they ever? We haven't won any puck battles or anything really yet. Like all our shots have just been either lucky shots from the outside or a tip that luckily made it through.
It's like, do they need a new brand of smelling salts? 4 shots to 16. They just added another one to Boston. It was 15 just a second ago, and they just added another one.
Yeah.
Is this? Do we have to start talking about Tyler Myers too, right? Because it was another cross-checking penalty, right?
Yeah, another cross-checking penalty. But I mean, it's for what it's worth. That's Kelly Sutherland. So we have to be extremely disciplined when he's out there reffing our games. He looked very excited to call that delay a game penalty. Holy, I've never seen a ref so on top of, yeah, I got it. He shot it straight out, and you just see, and it just makes me seethe with anger anytime I see him out there.
What's the backstory of him? Like, why does he hate the Canucks so much? Have they wronged him in some way?
I have no idea. There's just some sort of weird vendetta that seems to be out there that he just likes to control our games. I don't know what the actual backstory is, but yeah, historically, when he officiates, we do not get the majority of the calls. And yeah, it's he is the one who was officiating against Minnesota when Garland was hauled down right in front of him in overtime, and there was no call. So we all know that the reffing is suspect in Canucks games at best of times, but we have become used to it, and our guys just need to fight through it, get their legs moving, start winning some puck battles, and it's just adversity. Got to find a way, and they got to find a way to get shots through. I don't know why it is so difficult for this team to get shots through. I watch lots of other teams play hockey, and it's no problem. They just shoot from anywhere. It doesn't matter. They're not playing the percentages of, oh, this is a low percentage shot. It's like, oh, it's a shot on net, so a shot on net might be a goal. 4 shots is just embarrassing.
Is there any ups in this period? Is there any silver lining to a 2-0 period where they get outshot 16-4?
Honestly, Demko facing that many shots and stopping that many shots. Because like we talked about last game with Florida, they had 27 shots on net, but none of them were high danger chances. It was all from the outside. Nothing really getting to the middle. This game's been the complete opposite. I've been worried that there's going to be 2-3 more goals scored. But Demko's made a couple of big saves to keep us in it. Other than that, I guess we're out hitting them, but not big hits by any means. Just little ones to get some puck separation. Um, I don't know. You tell me. Did you see any ups in that period?
I think I have to agree. Like Demko looks good, right? Like he doesn't look like a guy who's only played. This is only his second game in the last 8 months, right? So obviously, the amount of time he spent with the team, the amount of time he spent prepping to get back, he was clearly doing a lot to make sure that he was ready to go. And you're still, wincing maybe a little bit when he does these spread eagle saves, but it doesn't. There's no like he doesn't stand up and kick his knee out. Sometimes you see goalies flex their knees and stuff like that. So yeah, probably the only up in a period where you get outshot 16-4 is when your goalie only lets in 2 on that.
Yeah, I would agree.
Roster moves. So let's get into it. A bunch of guys got called up from the AHL today. Shilov's got called on up the emergency basis. Everyone freaked out. Put our minds at ease, Dustin.
It was mostly just the cap gymnastics. Everyone, all the forwards or skaters who got called up were the guys who got sent down yesterday. Just trying to gain more space at the deadline. The reasons Shilov's got called up on an emergency, you touched on it earlier, is the flu going through the team. Lankinen and Forbert were both asked by the Canucks to stay away from the rink today. I guess there's a flu virus going through the dressing room. And those two were the latest victims. I believe Desharnais was actually fighting it last game. Word has come out, so hopefully more of the boys aren't feeling too much of the effects, and we'll see how it goes going forward into the Colorado game. But nothing to panic about. Just the standard cap gymnastics we've been doing all season, and then Shilov's was an emergency situation. Lankinen went from the shutout to the shit out. Yes, so
Yeah, there's your first swear jar. 1 of 5. Maybe Lankinen's just sick of getting shutouts.
Maybe.
Well, and then
tied for league with 3.
I want to point out too, because I was watching another post game stream, and they're like, I can't believe they do this to these guys. They're sending them up and down from Vancouver to Abbotsford. Like, what's the point of sending them down? They're not physically driving out to Abbotsford, right? It's just a paper transaction, right?
Exactly. Yeah, these guys are still practicing with the team and everything. They're still skating with the team. They're not going all the way back to Abbotsford to practice with them. It's just simply a paper transaction to to save the Canucks a couple bucks. Unfortunately, it hits the players in the wallet a little bit. They get substantially less on those days when they're sent back down. But I guess their job is to make a case to not get sent down, right? So
yeah,
we'll see what happens. But hopefully this is benefiting us for deadline moves and acquisitions, and we can make a good playoff push with some possibly rental players, as they call them.
Well, let's move on to some good news for the Canucks as an organization. Sawyer Mynio, I always say it wrong,
Yes.
has been named to Team Canada for the World Junior Championships. Can you tell me a little bit about him?
Kind of a surprise naming here. This kid has flown under the radar of a lot of teams, actually. He dropped down the draft list. He was a 3rd-round pick by the Canucks, 89th overall. But he's being talked about as the steal of that draft, and the Canucks might have made a crafty pick. He's the first defensive player to be named to Team Canada in the Canucks organization since Luc Bourdon in 2007. Of course, we've had other players other positional players and other countries represented in that time, but for a defensive prospect to play for Team Canada, Canucks have not had that in a very long time. He's having a good start to the season with the WHL Seattle Thunderbirds. He's got 5 goals and 14 assists in 18 games. He's known as a well-rounded 200-foot defenseman, so he plays a full, solid game. He kills penalties. He plays on the power play. He's basically all the tools you would want in a player going to a national tournament. When you have some power play specialists, this guy is just like your defensive shutdown guy, but can also add some offense when needed. He skates really well and has just worked hard to put himself into this position of success.
And he did, correct me if I'm wrong, he got 1 game in Abbotsford, I believe, earlier in the season. Was that a preseason game or was that regular season?
That was a preseason game, and he did play in the Young Stars tournament. So he did get into some of the Canucks development stuff this year after the draft. But he was one of I believe 6 19-year-olds that was invited to Team Canada, and we will be keeping a close eye on that tournament to see how he does.
Yeah, he's from Rod's part of the world. He's a BC boy coming from Kamloops originally. So another BC boy getting drafted by the Canucks, which you love to see.
Yes, sir.
Zaddy and Lindy are back in town for the first time. And despite the result in the game so far, I think we're all still very happy that we have Sherwood, DeBrusk, and Lankinen instead of Zaddy and Lindy, right?
Yeah, of course. We dodged a couple of overpriced bullets there for sure. Lindholm grossly underperforming for the contract that he signed so far this year. 3 goals and 10 assists. Well, now 11 assists. He was assisted on that first goal there in 31 games played. Um, Obviously, that's not numbers you would expect out of a second line centerman. So he is being criticized heavily for his play so far this season. Honestly, I would have been okay with Zadorov staying had the price been a little more acceptable. The 5 years and term was a little bit much. If he was coming in at like 4.5 or something like that, I would have been happy to see him in a Canucks jersey again. He's not having the worst season, but he's not really putting up much for offensive numbers. However, he is playing career high in minutes this year. He's been playing over 19 minutes a game. So he is helping out in that aspect. Also, had he been a right-handed shot, I would have said pay him in a heartbeat. But being a left-handed shot, the fact the Canucks are pretty deep on the left side, even in prospects coming up, that also probably had a lot to do with not wanting to sign Zadorov to too much term, considering that DPD and Tom Willander and those guys are coming up through the prospect pool right now.
Well, the thing about Zaddy that I wanted to ask you was he seems like the kind of player, and we saw it in the playoffs last year. I wouldn't be surprised if he does have another big playoffs because he does kind of seem to have that energy about him where when the big games happen, he steps up. I mean, similar to Lindholm. But how much money extra do you pay a guy if he's going to be, an average NHL player and then step it up when the playoffs roll around?
Well, and that's the problem is there's so much parity in the league and it's so close to get into the playoffs. It can be one overtime loss that could keep you out of the playoffs now. So to run that risk for an entire season on a guy that can flounder all year and you just hope he flips that switch on if you make it that far, that's a pretty big gamble to take on one guy. Um, Obviously, if they get to the playoffs, great. But given the start that Boston has had, that's going to be a tall order for them. So we'll have to see. One thing he did seem like is a good team guy. Like he seemed like a good guy to have in the locker room to break the tension and keep things light and that sort of thing. That's one thing I think Zadorov brought to the table that is a bit underrated for his value.
Yeah.
Guys like that are tough to find in this league that are comfortable and are more outgoing and some guys tend to be more introverted these days and keep to themselves and are a little more private. So it's nice to have someone like Zadorov out there a little more refreshing and clowning around, keeping things light. Obviously, things have not been that way lately in the Canucks dressing room, given the drama and injuries and things. So having someone like him probably would be a breath of fresh air right now. However, with the contract that he signed, I'm happy to see him in a Bruins jersey.
Tell me the baby Canucks have some good news for us, at least for this first intermission here.
So far, so good. It is Teddy Bear Toss Night in Abbotsford. And of course, for those who don't know how a Teddy Bear Toss game works, the home team invites fans to bring a stuffed animal to donate to children's charities when for kids in need for toys around Christmas time. But what has to happen is the home team has to score their first goal, and when the first goal is scored, everyone throws their teddy bears onto the ice, and it's just mayhem and chaos, and everyone's happy. Well, Jet Wu didn't make anyone wait too long, scoring 9 minutes and 30 seconds into the game. He got his second goal of the season. We are in the first intermission. The Canucks are up 1-0. Tolopilo has stopped all one of his. Let's see here. He's got 7 shots faced and 7 shots stopped so far. Canucks have directed 12 shots on goal, and we're just getting underway in the second period right now with a 1-0 lead.
So you giving me permission to throw this teddy bear?
Throw it, man.
Woo!
We got the goal. It's teddy bear toss time.
Oh, now Dobby's gonna go and chomp on the toy. That's Charity Bear. Everyone who doesn't know, that's Charity Bear. He's as old as I am. I got that teddy bear. Hey, I will never bring him to the game. He would not survive out there. He's too old.
Yeah.
Awesome, Dustin. Thanks for the update on Abbotsford. We'll get a final score from Abbotsford when we get you on the post game show.
Sounds good.
Talk to you soon, brother.
Nothing is perfect.